The only place that you get the truth ahead of time. It's funny, man. We say things here on the National Football Show, and then funny how it translates out a year and a half later. By the way, we told you this yesterday, and we're asking you and imploring you to do this. Every time you hit a like in the first 15 minutes of the program, you are sending a message to NovaCare. I'm not kidding. They want this show off the air. The more likes in the first 15 minutes, we're gold. And we've been killing it. And this is all because of you. I want to thank you. Hit the likes. Also, super chats all go to the top. I stop whatever I'm doing. I stop whatever we're doing to go to our super chats. Guys have been absolutely sensational. Please stop Howie. That's what this is. Stop Howie. Hit the likes. Appreciate you guys. What a great time on the sports calendar. By the way, 4 hours sponsored and powered by our friends at BetUS. We implore you to go to the website during this football season. Week 8 of the NFL starts up tonight, and it starts with JAKIB and also with BetUS. Please go to our website. Look at Dre. Hey, can't stop Big Sills. Dre, can't stop Big Sills and Dre. That's what that means. Hey, man, I mean this with all my heart. You guys have become now family. You know, I'll say this to you, and I'm not just blowing you to tell you this. I've had more fun doing this than in my entire 24 years of radio. I'm trying to think. San Francisco was awful fun. Tampa was great. Okay? I was there on the market and in the market and on the air for 15 years. Isn't that funny? You know what's funny? People will, if you go to the internet, right, Xander? You would think Big Sills was fired by 15 jobs. It's not true. I was fired by 2 jobs in 30 years. And I've only had, let's see, KMBR, WDAE, QAM, Mighty 1090, San Diego, the Odyssey station, and this. I was never fired in San Diego. They moved me to Boston. So that's a lie. I was never fired in Phoenix because I didn't want to move to Phoenix for $57,000. I said, I don't think so. And it's not true. In 34 years of broadcasting, I've only had 6 jobs. It's crazy. You read the internet, here's Sileo, he's had another. I'm like, that's not true. Some of those jobs we weren't the main guy, and we just did it a little bit just because we were trying to make a living. They weren't my full-time gig. It's crazy. Anyway, guys, me up there, senor. I'm sure your takes will be sensational. By the way, please, first 15 minutes, likes are more essential than any other time. And this is how we're growing this bad puppy. All right. As I said, sports calendar, insane. Week 8 of the NFL tonight, as I said, week 9 of college football. We're already here at week 9 of the college football season. I know. Look at Eagle fans. Sales tax-free in Arizona. Yeah, well, I don't care what tax-free is at 50 grand, quite frankly. I won't leave my driveway for less than 100. How you doing? That's not going to happen. God, man. Hey, this is going to be a little bumpy today because finally somebody with even more credibility than what some of you think I don't have has over me has made a comment about your boy Jalen Hurts. World Series starts tomorrow. Should be exciting. By the way, today, our grades for the week for the Giant game will come out. Also, we will talk a little bit more about Saquon Barkley as well. We're efforting today. It's a 50-50 shot we get Michael Irvin. He's in transit. We've sent him a link. And we're hoping that we get Michael Irvin. So if I keep checking my phone and you see me checking my phone, I'm checking to see if Michael Irvin is just going to pop on with us, because that's exactly what he did last time, right, Xander? He popped on, and I kept trying to get him, and eventually we got him in a limo. So we're hoping to do that today with Michael Irvin. He said yesterday he would try. He said this morning he would also try to do it. So they're going to try to find some time with us. He's on his way out to California from Dallas. So we'll see if we can get a hold of him while he's in transit. Also, hit that like button, as we said. I want to play something for you. And by the way, I can't believe how this one guy here, he's actually more brutal than me. And I know how some of you will take this, but it's truth. And this is how NFL people talk. Please hit the like button here. I want to do something here for you. This is Greg Cosell from the NFL Network on his evaluation and breakdown of Jalen Hurts' play. By the way, Greg has no money in the game here on Hurts, good or bad. He talks about every quarterback like this, good or bad. This is what he does at NFL Films. This is what he says about your guy, Jalen Hurts.
They're a difficult offense to watch right now. Jalen Hurts is not playing very good football. They're a running football team. Their defense has played a lot better the last couple of weeks. Now, people can say they beat the Giants and the Browns, and that's fair because those are two of the lesser offenses in the league. But if you just look at what they're doing and how individuals are playing, they're playing better on defense. But the Eagles can't sustain, if they want to be a true playoff team, they can't sustain the way they played last week. Your quarterback has to be a bigger factor. Jalen Hurts, for whatever reason, Ross, and he's played a lot of football games, and you do them in the preseason, so you're familiar with him. For whatever reason, he's just not seeing things clearly right now. Basic concepts he's not seeing, and that really handicaps and hamstrings your offense when your quarterback just can't execute basic concepts, and that's what he's struggling with right now. They're a difficult offense.
Ross Tucker podcast, by the way, Greg was talking to our friend Ross Tucker. He can't execute basic concepts. I've been saying that since he's been your starting quarterback. This is not an epiphany to me. I've been saying this since he started. He cannot compete on a yearly basis for a Super Bowl when he can't make the simplest plays. That quarterback can't make the simple throws. You saw it last week to Barkley and Smith. And for some of you who have been fighting this, now you're getting the national people going. He struggles to see the simple plays. I'm going to make the comment here. Jalen Hurts is not the future of the Eagles at quarterback. It's now time to come to grips with this. He's not good enough. You overpaid him and you overevaluated him. This is a guy who breaks down 32 quarterbacks for the last 25 years and has said now he struggles with the basic concept. And I don't want to wait until Jalen Hurts gets better. I mean, I don't want to wait any longer. It's time to start evaluating what your options are, just like in Cleveland. How about this? This is not me talking. That guy's validating what I've been saying for 4 years. Some of you still don't want to believe it. He cannot make the simple reads. Now everyone is seeing it. By the way, do you know what's happened to Hurts? The league has caught up with him like they did with Carson Wentz. Both those quarterbacks couldn't adjust and elevate the level of play to counteract what the D coordinators were doing against their skill set. That's why you have certain guys look great early, and that's why you have certain guys look great later, like Jared Goff. Goff struggled early, like most good, talented quarterbacks. Why? Progression reading, feet, reading defenses, learning how to do that. But what was the one thing he had? He had a skill set on progression reading. That's why he's better now than he was earlier in his career. And once he got proper coaching, Johnson in Detroit, Sean McVay in Los Angeles, that elevated his play. He knows how to counteract the DCs because the defensive coordinators are constantly looking on how to go against your strength and your skill set. Hurts can't. He's not talented enough. This is why he was replaced at Alabama. Because Tua is more of a prototype quarterback. Is he an athlete like Jalen Hurts? No. Does he have a stronger arm than Jalen Hurts? Tua? No. Is he a better quarterback from the pocket? He's a superior quarterback from the pocket than Jalen Hurts. And now you have great Cosell and others coming around. And by the way, that comment was made today on the Ross Tucker podcast. And I've been telling you for 3.5 years, this is what was going to happen. That offense is not sustainable. You know, Xander said something the other day. Well, we're a running team. You're not going to win a Super Bowl just being a running team. Ask Tennessee. They had the best runner in the last 15 years in the league. They got to an AFC championship game, but they never got to a Super Bowl just being a running team. And their quarterback was Ryan Tannehill. I mean, there's no question. Look, you know what's going to be interesting today? You're going to still have people fighting for Hurts that he's going to get. No, he's not. Hurts is never going to get better. He doesn't have that skill set in him. That's why, by the way, now we go to the Eagles' fault in this. The Eagles are coaching a guy who will never be the guy who Greg Cosell says struggles with common and easy reads. He struggles to make the easy play in the passing game. Getting off that 22 mentality of how you played and having him in that RPO has been the biggest mistake in the coaching philosophy of Jalen Hurts. I think you could have extended that window of Hurts 4 more years playing that style of football. Xander goes, well, the league would have caught up. Okay. They would have caught up. Keep adding good players around him then. Like you do with A. Do you understand? I think the Eagles know this. I think Philly knows this. Why? Because that's why you've paid $50 million with wide receivers and 10 on a back. You know the quarterback is limited. There's no other reason. The quarterback is limited. We don't even pay Quinion after his rookie contract, right? We don't even pay Quinion after his rookie contract, right? We didn't pay TJ Watt. Yeah, I hope we replace the quarterback before the team gets old. Dre, I got what you're saying here. You paid him too soon. Absolutely. Absolutely. Paid him too soon. I said that. I said, why are you paying him? You have another year. Shit, they let Dak roll in his final year of his contract twice. Hey, you have taken a player like Jalen Hurts, and you've absolutely, for whatever ego reason, thought you could do with him like you thought you could change Bryce Huff into a 3-down defensive player. That's a freaking ego issue. That is not playing to a player's skill set. That's an ego thing. That's not even coaching. That's off the wall thinking that you know better and you're trying to change the football gods. Jalen is the worst hype. Man, hate hearing him speak. Dude, I like Jalen Hurts. I like him as the face of a franchise. I don't have a problem with the way he's just a little weird. It's all right. I'd rather have weird Hurts than asshole Aaron Rodgers. It's okay. Hey, man, I put up with that BS, that A.J. Brown, but that's okay. A.J. Brown is going to give you 1,500 yards. Hit the like button, please. Greg Cosell is telling you that he can't execute the simple plays. He's struggling at executing the simple plays. I mean, you can't get any more of a critique of a quarterback after 4 years than that. Sills, did the NFL's D catch up with Hurts or did forcing her? I think it's both. Bob. I think this is both. Bob, I think it's both. I think they caught up with Hurts, like Xander said, with the RPO. And I think the organization gone on changing the offenses. They hired the wrong quarterback coach. They hired the wrong coordinator for him. Kingsbury was the guy. Or a guy like Todd Monken. Dude, it is now more evident than ever he's not the future. We're saying it right here today on October 24th. That quarterback is not the future of the team. And the reason why you have so much money based on the offensive side of the football is because of the inadequacies that the quarterback has in his skill set. You have to have superstar wide receivers. You have to pay them big money. You have to have a gigantic running back to make it 10. Don't you find it funny that the Eagles, for the first time in their entire franchise, went out and spent $10 million on a running back? I mean, you can't get away from this. You cannot get away from this. You're never going to be a Super Bowl contender. You are never going to be a Super Bowl contender with Jalen Hurts as a quarterback for your football team. That's just not going to happen. And now you've got Greg Cosell making the comment. Dude, his critique of Hurts is so sharp. There was no, well, he'll get better. He doesn't think he's going to. He can't make the simplest plays. These are not my words. They have been my take for 4 years. Would love to see a hypothetical world where Jaden Daniels has our O-line and weapon cells. What would you be willing to give up for Myles Garrett? 2 1s and a 3. And maybe Jordan Davis. I don't know. 2 1s and Jordan Davis? Take him. I don't want him. Yeah, he's misunderstood. You don't misunderstand a guy who's got 6 tackles and has no impact on your run game. That's not misunderstanding. I can understand if you guys were number 1 in run stopping. You're 16th. And it's because of Carter, not him. And it's because you played 2 teams that can't run the ball. Really, 3. The Bucs couldn't run the ball. I mean, who are you kidding me here? Dude, this isn't just a Sileo opinion now. Now we have Greg Cosell adding to it. Now you have Greg Cosell going, Greg Cosell breaks down every play of a quarterback every week. And then he puts it out on video, and he goes on the Ross Tucker podcast, and he said, this guy's just not, he's not playing good ball now. He's just not playing good football. That's why I keep asking you, do you think, I even asked Marcus Hayes this yesterday, do you think Jalen Hurts has improved since the start of 23? I keep saying I don't see it. I don't think he's played good football since the Super Bowl. He's had spurts of it. Hurts brought us home against the Saints. The simple plays won us the game. RC3. Again, here's a guy that's going to fight for a guy that's not playing good football against the 2-5 Saints. Jesus criminy. Dennis Allen will probably be fired Monday. This guy's crowing over the Saints. Brought us home against the 2-5 Saints. Get this. Here you go. Here you'll have a guy still on that back of the bus and on that bandwagon. What quarterback plays good football? Greg Cosell's talking about him not playing good football and not making the basic throws and basic concepts. Joe Burrow's playing great ball, and his team's bad. There's a difference and a distinction. Burrow's completing 70% of his passes on a 3-4 football team. Bad football team ain't affecting him. Why is it affecting Hurts? Been an Eagle fan for 40 years, frustrated. Let's see what Tanner McKee can do with this offense. Absolutely not, David. You've paid the guy $50 million and you're in with him for the next 2 years. Don't work like that. What do you think? You're at Temple? It doesn't work like that in the NFL. Jalen does have extraordinary plays occasionally. He does. That secure wins. But they wouldn't be needed if he were more consistent with the other 95% of the game. Thank you, Dalton, for the super chats. Please hit the like button. Senor, I'm not reading your bullshit on Hurts. I'm not going to read a guy defending things that other people are now seeing in him on basic plays. There's not an elite quarterback in the NFL where people say this. He can't make the easy throw, or he can't make the distinction. It's absurd. It's absurd.
To watch right now. Jalen Hurts is not playing very good football. They're a running football team. Their defense has played a lot better the last couple of weeks. Now, people can say they beat the Giants and the Browns, and that's fair because those are two of the lesser offenses in the league. But if you just look at what they're doing and how individuals are playing, they're playing better on defense. But the Eagles can't sustain, if they want to be a true playoff team, they can't sustain the way they played last week. Your quarterback has to be a bigger factor. Jalen Hurts, for whatever reason, Ross, and he's played a lot of football games, and you do them in the preseason, so you're familiar with him. For whatever reason, he's just not seeing things clearly right now. Basic concepts he's not seeing, and that really handicaps and hamstrings your offense when your quarterback just can't execute basic concepts, and that's what he's struggling with right now. They're difficult.
That's an NFL talent evaluator. Basic concepts, he can't make them. Basic concepts. And as you saw, Ross Tucker podcast with Greg Cosell. Basic concepts he can't make. Hit the like button, please. Hurts reminds me of a catcher in the major league who couldn't throw back to the pitcher. Hurts can't throw a screen to save his life. That's why they don't have a screen game. They've never had a screen game. They really have never really had a short intermediate passing game or a check down game at all. You know, all those check downs that they were practicing in camp, they have not used them at all in any way whatsoever. And you know what? When you have that thing eliminated from your pass offense, you eliminate the things that have made Patrick Mahomes and Tom Brady Super Bowl champions. I mean, that's what made those guys Super Bowl champions. It feels like money got to Hurts when he got paid. No, Devontae, I don't believe that about the kid. I just think the world caught up with him. And that's why that's why the rumors are the Eagles are in the process of potentially signing a guy like Cooper Kupp. Why would you need Cooper Kupp, and why would that even be a thought process for the Eagles to put Cooper Kupp on your team unless you didn't have confidence in your quarterback? You're going to have three guys making excess of $27 million a year because your quarterback sucks that bad? That's an indictment on the quarterback. Kendu, thank you so much. Love your take on the Eagles, Sills. Thank you, Kendu. Thank you. Bro, when I heard Greg Cosell validate my 3.5 years today, he's not the only one saying this. Basic fundamentals he struggles at. And then you have the balls of Kellen Moore and Nick telling you different things at the press conference. He's not playing good football. He's not. He's had a stretch of 2 games that covered his weaknesses. I didn't think he played poorly in the Cleveland game against a pretty good defense. I thought he was okay. Shit. I've seen Sam Darnold this year do that. I've seen Baker Mayfield do that. I've seen Geno Smith. I think he's kind of in that room. He's not playing as good as Darnold right now. But Jalen Hurts is Geno Smith and Baker Mayfield. You're not going to win a Super Bowl with those 3 guys. Sills, we got there. You got there because of the exceptional talent that you had with that 53-man roster, a shitty schedule, and a watered-down playoffs. You played the Giants and Daniel Nobody, and then you played a headless 49er team in the NFC title game. Because why? Reddick ruined it. The best player in the playoffs that year, especially in the NFC playoffs for the Eagles, was Hassan Reddick. Hey, let's get those likes up. Hey, thank you very much. Please get the likes up. I appreciate that. Very good. Thank you, Dre. How many people in here believe Jalen Hurts is the future of the Eagles? How many people in here still believe that? That he's the future? I know you want him to be. Sean says, I do. Me. Why? Okay, I want to hear from the ones. Give me a reasoning why you think he's the future of your team. And don't use the Super Bowl because Jimmy Garoppolo got to a Super Bowl. Jake Delhomme got to a Super Bowl. Rex Grossman got to a Super Bowl. Colin Kaepernick got to a Super Bowl. And so did Jalen Hurts. Okay? The difference is the elite quarterbacks win them. And I showed you in the last 12 years, there's only one not elite quarterback that won a Super Bowl. Nick Foles. Only one. He's 25 is not a reason. You could be 25 and blow. Not getting a set. Hey, that's a great comment right there. I like that. And Nick was elite for a three-game span. And let's not forget something. That guy, as I said before to Xander, that guy was the weirdest substitute teacher of all time. 26 TDs, 2 picks, Pro Bowl. I mean, all-time percentage in completions in the playoffs. He's 4-2 in the play. It's weird. Weird. Super Bowl MVP. I mean, weird on how that guy could. He was a lot like Eli. Nick Foles was a lot like Eli. Very streaky. Very streaky. Super chats go to the top. Just about to say Reddick got us to the Super Bowl, not Hurts. Even Justin Fields is progressing faster. Great take, Kim. Last year, I believed. This year, my concerns are growing. Jacob, that's an okay room to be in. Jacob, that's an okay room to be in. Okay? That's okay to be in that, Dan. Jacob, let me ask you this. Did you believe, Jacob, in Carson Wentz? Did you believe in Carson Wentz? And all of a sudden, you had to say what Jacob said. Man, I really believed in the guy, but now I'm having concerns. Now I'm having concerns. But here's the difference. Carson Wentz could read defenses. He just didn't have the mental fortitude to fight off negativity, which beat him down personally. That's an internal meltdown that he couldn't overcome. I think, and I happen to think Jalen's a tougher guy. I just don't think he's not as talented as Carson Wentz as a quarterback. He's just not. But he's more mentally tougher. That's the difference in the two. Wentz is more skilled. And it's evident. He never had the guys that Jalen Hurts had built around him, ever. There were no 2,000-yard receivers, 1,000-yard backs. They didn't have any of that shit. None of that shit. He was throwing the trash cans. I showed you that one stat. The year he threw for $4,000, there wasn't a wide receiver on the team that had over 500 yards in reception yards. How does a guy do that? And you got a guy with 2 1,000-yard receivers the last 2 years, and he can't throw over 3,900 yards. How's that possible? And you play an extra game. Yes, did. Wentz kept repeating the same excuses, but continued the same results. It's feeling deja vu. Okay? Dude, Jalen Hurts has not accomplished anything that Carson Wentz did as a Philly quarterback. Nothing. Carson Wentz is the all-time single-season passing touchdown leader, yards leader, helped you get to an AFC championship because he secured home field for you. He was instrumental. 75% of that Super Bowl was on his back. And Nick brought you home to 25%. He won 11-2 and finished second in the MVP voting. And he owns a Super Bowl ring. Hurts is nowhere near any of that. Get this. You may not want to hear that because I know you don't. Show me one thing he's done better. He got to a Super Bowl by himself. Fair enough. Fair enough. But I can name you more things that guy has done than that guy. He helped us get to a Super Bowl. Sills, he got to a Super Bowl, okay? Wentz is the all-time leading passer for your franchise. Touchdowns. MVP second runner-up. Secured home field advantage. This guy's not very skilled. Now you got Greg Cosell saying it. Basic concepts he can't execute. Who talks like that about an elite quarterback in today's NFL? Who talks like that? I'm not going to debate with people like Senor about a guy who can't complete a simple pass and struggles with simple concepts. There's no debate. It's the Josh Allen and Hurts debate, which is a freaking absolute stupid comment and stupid argument. It's like comparing Michael Jordan to like Clyde Drexler. They got to let him play his game like the Ravens do Lamar. Sean, yes. Yes. Get this. I said that Wentz was in the same room with Josh Allen. I never said that. Sills, the only way Hurts is the future of this team is if the organization abandons their philosophy and embraces Hurts' skills. That's the only way you're going to save this. Absolutely. But they're not going to do this because they don't value coaches, Bob. They don't value the coaches' opinions. They value their own opinions. Remember, Howie Roseman is the guy who makes all football and personnel decisions for the Philadelphia Eagles. Your coaches don't. No one else does but him. He is the guy that has the philosophical beliefs. He believes in plug and play, and he believes that Hurts can become a pocket passer the same way he believes Bryce Huff will become a 3-down player. You know why? Because he believes it through his analytic guys. The reason that you don't hang around the Super Bowl rim on a consistent basis, and you don't. The only time you really hung around the Super Bowl rim was when Andy was here. You have 1-year windows at best. And 17, let's face it, looks more and more like a 1-year hit. The 22, you had the roster. You had the team. You didn't have the coaches. You had a stupid fundamental philosophy. That's Hurts' last great game. Then the league caught him. Happens to a lot of players. Okay? At least Wentz had an excuse. He was never the same after his torn ACL, and the organization never coached him the same. I'll tell you what, like I said, MSIP, there was no question about it. When I watched Carson Wentz play early in his career, I thought he was the next coming of Brett Favre. Hurts isn't far off from being back in a Super Bowl. Listen to this. Hurts isn't far off from being back from a Super Bowl. We hit big-time edge rusher, hit on a couple draft picks on defense. We'll be back in the Super Bowl next year and win it. The reason you won't win a Super Bowl is because your quarterback can't make the simplest of plays. I told you this at the beginning of the season, and I'll continue to say it one more time. Please hit the like button. I'll say it to you again. I'm going to go knee-deep on this guy now for the rest of the year because he's not going to get better. He's just not. Okay? Here. This guy, Love Hurts, said, we don't know ball if you don't think Hurts is a generational talent. Now, the shit was funny. I'm not understanding what you're saying. I'm not. 215, you're throwing it at me. You think Jalen Hurts is a generational talent when you've got people saying he can't make the simplest of plays? Jesus criminy. 2024 Shows the flaws of analytics for sure. From drafting of analytics, absolutely. Big play game from Barkley. First quarter run game. By the way, we're going to talk about Barkley here in a minute. Let's see what Senor says about why Carson Wentz sucked and Jalen's better. Who was to play for Carson Wentz and Jalen Hurts not being able to develop? All on Howie and not any of the coaches? You must have missed what I said here. See? Senor listens to 5%, which is normal on when people are talking. That you'll take 5% of what someone says so that it fits some sort of wild narrative of yours. I said without a doubt, they tried to make him into something. He walked away from what he did best in 22, and they should have rode it as long as they did. They didn't do it, and they've turned him into an ineffective quarterback. It's on them, and it's on. But you overvalued and overestimated the quarterback's ability. Do you understand Jalen Hurts is a mistake? What he was drafted for was to be a backup. You have a backup quarterback masquerading as an elite quarterback, and he's that. That's who he is. He was drafted as Carson Wentz's backup. Now, some would go, Sills, wasn't Kirk Cousins drafted as a backup to RG3? For sure. But Cousins showed you the ability to be able to read defenses and throw from the pocket. You need to put a Eagle Roundtable together. Love to get these groups at the table. It'd be epic. Like the idea. It's a great idea. QB's a bust. It's time to accept reality. But Kim, he was always a backup quarterback masquerading as an elite guy. When you gave him the 50, it clouded your view and judgment of him. Not you, I'm saying. And by the way, to Senor's point, the organization expedited it. Tell me this. Why do organizations like Buffalo and Green Bay and Kansas City, why are they subtracting elite players and bringing in good players, not spectacular players? Because their quarterbacks can win games. And the quarterback's the guy. Philly's one of the only places, along with San Francisco and Purdy, that they keep adding marquee names. Why? Because of the ineffective abilities of the quarterback skill set. Assuming the Birds move off in a few years, okay. What would you look for in a replacement? Do you go into the draft? Yeah, go into the draft. These kids today that are coming out. But the problem again, Josh, let me give you a Dallas Cowboy mentality here. Okay, Josh? If you go back into the draft again, what's to say you're not going to do the same thing you did to Carson Wentz and Jalen Hurts because of the philosophical beliefs that you have? What's to say you're not going to destroy that guy? When you have an ego, when you have personality, and you have a mindset that you believe that you know what you're doing, you're not budging off that. Ask Doug Peterson. But Sills, would you have drafted another quarterback or tagged Hurts, even though you couldn't tag him because he was a second rounder? I'd have let him play out his year. Backup quarterback was able to get $50 million contract. So was Kirk Cousins. That's my point, dude. Kirk Cousins just signed a $50 million deal with the Atlanta Falcons. He was a backup quarterback too. And to go along with it, he made the most money of any quarterback that's ever played the game. He's made more money than Aaron Rodgers and Tom Brady and Peyton Manning. He's made $450 million, and he was drafted as a backup. What's your point? Great. He and Cousins have something in common. They were backups who got paid. Sure. Okay, look at this. Here, let me show you something here. This guy is a fucking moron. Did you see the roster Montana and Aikman had? Montana and Aikman, are you trying to compare? I must have missed that roster when he won his Super Bowl, the first one in Detroit. Can you name me a wide receiver on that team? I must have missed it. Who was the wide receiver on the team when he won the Super Bowl in 81 or 82 up in Detroit? Tell me who that was, because it wasn't Jerry Rice. It wasn't John Taylor. It was a guy by the name of Freddie Solomon, Bert Cooper, Wendell Davis, Wendell Tyler. Okay, Dwight Clark, not a Hall of Famer. Dwight Clark was a good player, wasn't a Hall of Fame guy. You're making it sound like Montana in Hurts? Montana's 4-0 in Super Bowls. Didn't throw a pick. 138 quarterback rating. Are you crazy? And beat Elway in Montana, or beat Elway and Marino in Super Bowls. Detroit never won a Super Bowl. Dickhead, the game was in Detroit against the Bengals. Highest rated Super Bowl to this day. To this day. Hurts in Montana. That's a new one. That's a new one. Sill's honest question is Hurts really a bust? Or is this the organization forcing a square peg into a round hole? It's more that. Jalen Hurts can be an A-plus quarterback if we use him correctly. He won't be an elite quarterback. And he won't last long. But yes, he can be an A quarterback if you fundamentally play him to his skill set, not out of his skill set. They're coaching the greatness out of Hurts. And you know this. You know this. If the quarterback and the coach was more consistent, we could have the greatest show on turf. Dude, that's a great take, Lord's Grace. What would a guy like Kurt Warner do with that offense? You'd probably score 700 points. Could you imagine Kurt Warner, the quarterback of that team, as accurate as that guy is, and the way he gets the football out and knows where to go with the ball? Kurt Warner would go 30 for 35 for 505 yards and 5 touchdowns every week. And there's no way you could stop it. Do you know why A.J. Brown laughed when they were brought up the 15 attempts or the 14 attempts? Because he knows it can't be sustainable, and you're nowhere near a championship team. Because the quarterback the last 2 weeks, dude, Saquon Barkley's covered the guy's ass. I'll take that back. I didn't think Jalen played poorly in the Cleveland game against a good defense. I said it earlier. Okay? Like falling in love with that fun chick, then be mad after you marry her, still wants to party. I mean, he won't last the season if they start running him 10 times a game. No one said he had a high ceiling. the only way he has a high ceiling is by dropping him back in play. But, dude, that has to be one of the biggest indictments I've heard from a guy that is a really credible and respected guy in the league. It's insane that he would be saying that. By the way, wouldn't you not agree that that is an even more of an indictment on how Greg Cosell, Xander, get ready for that. I want you to hear it one last time here. Greg Cosell on the Ross Tucker podcast.
Giants and the Browns, and they're a difficult offense to watch right now. Jalen Hurts is not playing very good football. They're a running football team. Their defense has played a lot better the last couple of weeks. Now, people can say they beat the Giants and the Browns, and that's fair because those are two of the lesser offenses in the league. But if you just look at what they're doing and how individuals are playing, they're playing better on defense. But the Eagles can't sustain, if they want to be a true playoff team, they can't sustain the way they played last week. Your quarterback has to be a bigger factor. Jalen Hurts, for whatever reason, Ross, and he's played a lot of football games, and you do them in the preseason, so you're familiar with him. For whatever reason, he's just not seeing things clearly right now. Basic concepts he's not seeing, and that really handicaps and hamstrings your offense when your quarterback just can't execute basic concepts, and that's what he's struggling with right now. They're
struggling with basic concepts. You don't talk about elite quarterbacks like that. Elite quarterbacks don't struggle with basic concepts. They struggle with complex concepts like you have with Brian Flores in Minnesota. If you can't dissect, you know why he can't read a defense? Is because he can't make the basic concept throws. That's why he holds the ball too long. This is all making sense now. This is all making sense. You know why he holds the ball? Because he can't make the simple read, and he can't make the simple throw, and he can't dissect the simple defense. A screen pass to Barkley, Smith over the middle, waving his hands like he's on a cruise ship. Save me. It's ironic the only quarterback with long-term success we've had recently has been McNabb, and he didn't let the organization get to his head. The FO sabotaged the quarterback, front office. It happens before Jalen, and it will happen after. Anthony, correct. The one thing that sabotaged McNabb sabotaged himself by stopping running the ball and stopping being a guy who got out in the perimeter and made plays. I don't understand why the Eagle fans were hyped about the Giants win. 14 effing attempts is embarrassing. It's just, but get this. If you know you're going to throw the ball 14 times, I don't have a problem with that. Because I told Xander the other day and even on the postgame show, I didn't have a problem that you threw the ball 14, 15 times in a 25-point blowout. My problem is inside those 15 plays, there's two concept plays that Greg's talking about that he couldn't fundamentally make, that players were wide open and he couldn't see, and he couldn't execute the simplest of plays. That's going to translate into a game where you're going to need those plays to be made. Not against the Giants. Brady has a C-plus quarterback set, but an A-plus quarterback mind. Correct. And watch this. Brady's athleticism, C-plus. Brady's arm, C-plus. Brady's mobility, C+. Pre-snap reads, A+. Reading defenses, A+. Making tough throws and accurate, A+. Brady wasn't a deep pass. Hey, wait a minute. Here's something else to think about what Lucius is saying here. Why is it so important for the Eagles to have Jalen Hurts as a deep passer when Brady was never? And Brady's the all-time leading passer in yards and in touchdowns, also in wins. Never throwing the ball deep. Do you not see that? It's an indictment on the mentality of the Eagle thinking that they get this. The Eagles lead the NFL in plus 40 plays, I heard. The Patriots never did that. Kansas City never does that. It's a bullshit stat. Explosion plays don't win Super Bowls. Continuity, precision, accuracy, and consistency win Super Bowls. Not 40-plus explosion plays. How many times did you watch Montana, if you're older as I am, Jerry Rice on a hitch pass, on a 10-yard hitch, take to the house? That guy was sensational. He invented, do you know who invented yards after the catch? It was Jerry Rice. Why? Because Montana made the simple throw. It wasn't Joe making a 70 or 60-yard pass. It was Rice taking it to the house. Get this. This is the problem you have. People will look at this and go, he didn't struggle. He can't make basic throws. That guy will never see it. He'll never see it. Jalen Hurts won't sniff a quarter. He will not sniff a Super Bowl again. I'm even more convinced of that now. In fairness to Jalen, he didn't have to beat them with his arm. What's so wrong with that? It's not. You obviously didn't hear what I just said. I didn't have a problem with the 14 passes. I had a problem with him missing basic passes and concepts in those 14 passes when he had two guys wide open for touchdowns and he couldn't process it quick enough. Dude, this is more than just a Giant game. It's easy to move on or move off and ruin these drafted and groomed quarterbacks in Philly. Yvette will speak up and talk shit when needed. Oh, okay, yeah, right. Like they did last year. Hey, I missed Anthony's super chat. Please put it up, Xander, if you can for me. All super chats go to the top. What do we notice about our O? The opposing D doesn't move. They don't hide coverages until the last minute, like they did with Manning versus Brady. That's exactly, or Brady. Those defenses had to move to confuse them. Jalen can't spot schemes. Amen. This might be a bad take, but do you think they could prep Kenny Pickett for next quarterback? No. Kenny Pickett is not the next quarterback in Philadelphia. You don't have the next quarterback in Philly. Tanner McKee and that guy are not good enough for the talent you have in your huddle. I'm not going from a guy that I have spent the last 3 years and $50 million a year on to go to a guy and think that Tyler McKee or Tanner McKee is the next Tom Brady. I don't believe that. But then again, wait a minute. Here's a point. Let me ask you something here. Do you think Howie Roseman would have ever drafted Tom Brady in the 6th round, having looked at his body and he ran a 5.7 40? He didn't have a very strong arm, and he was looked on as just like not very good, even though he had a pretty decent senior season at Michigan. Do you think they would have drafted him? Tanner McKee, by the way, has a better arm than Brady ever did coming out of college. At Stanford, he had a big arm. There's not a chance in hell Howie Roseman would have drafted Tom Brady. He would have Then again, you know how many people missed on Tom Brady, including the Patriots. They missed on him 5 times before they took him in the 6th. What an indictment by a guy who's highly respected on your quarterback in Philly. He doesn't believe that guy's very good. And when Greg Cosell says that, that's going to start trickling down to the rest of the national media guys. Sills, Laurie should promote Howie and remove player personnel, and then hire Mike Borgonzi in Kansas City as GM so he can handle the draft, build the staff, and build defense. When Hurts's contract expires, we'll be ready for a quarterback. Okay? Xander, I think I just missed a super chat, a blue one. Please, guys, your super chats all go to the top. Andy Reid and Doug Peterson could win with McKee. I can't dispute that. He won with Alex Smith. And he won with, again, Nick Foles is a different animal. That's not a normal backup guy. Okay? He's not a normal backup dude. That guy's weird. Hurts's contract won't expire, though. He'll get extended for sure. Good luck. Who in their right mind would extend that guy? For what? What's he accomplished? That shit's in the rearview mirror, Reyes, his best ball. Where in the world over the last year and a half would you extend a guy? That's a great comment. Let's ask M. Reyes here. Let's take it. How many people over the last year and a half would extend Jalen Hurts? Not me. 2025 draft. Do the Eagles get a quarterback in the first round? I don't believe so. I wouldn't put out of the realm of possibility a third or a fourth. You know what, Sills? You helped me solve this. Hurts would be an elite quarterback in a West Coast offense where they don't prioritize downfield throws. It's a good take. But he can't develop an intermediate passing game. That's why he doesn't. Get this. So tell me this. You're not going to extend a guy who can't throw across the middle of the field. And for the head coach and the coordinator to say, well, it just played out that way. We don't make throws across the middle of the field. Wow. For a reporter not to follow up and say, so you're blaming Kellen Moore for not calling more plays across the middle of the field? That's where Devontae was wide open. He can't see the middle of the field. He is so far from elite. And when Greg points it all out, it doesn't matter if Hurts throws the ball 37 times in a game or 3. He struggles with the simplest concepts. They know this. Get this. I'll show you something on how people turn something that has nothing to do with. I don't know what this take means. This has nothing to do with me. I don't know what you're talking about, really. So I can't get mad at that, Reyes. I have no idea what you're freaking talking about. Jalen Hurts hit a few crosses to Devontae like 2-3 times against the Browns. Great. Wonderful. I think he could throw in the middle of the field. His problem is his height. They need to change his throwing angle. Hey, Lucius, drop him back further like they did with Breeze and with Russell Wilson. They go back 9 steps instead of 7. On your note of Howie drafting Brady, would he play Purdy if he had taken him in 2000? No, not a chance. Can't afford to look wrong. Purdy would thrive here. Dude, he wouldn't thrive here. because they don't have the coaching to thrive here. You haven't had a good offensive coordinator in Philadelphia since Frank Reich. And you've had a gimmick coordinator in Shane Steichen. By the way, look what Shane's doing. Shane is an RPO quarterback. But how's he winning now? He's winning with a quarterback in Indianapolis that was like Phillip Rivers. The owner wanted Anthony Richardson. That's how he got the job, because of Jalen Hurts. Anthony Richardson looks like Florida Anthony Richardson now. 51% completion percentage, reckless, can't stay healthy. Xander, isn't that Anthony Richardson Gators? That's who that guy was in Florida. You got an old man Joe Flacco now throwing the ball, and they're 4-3. They're in the play. Right now, if the playoffs were to start this weekend, the Colts qualify because of Joe Flacco, not Anthony Richardson. Get this, what here? Here's another MRS. I'm wrong on predictions, but right on results. Team sucked last year. I said it from day one. Quarterback's not good enough. You're right, MRS. I may not get a Sunday game right, but I got your quarterback pegged, and I got your football team pegged. I picked you to go to the Super Bowl in 22, and I picked you to fall apart in 23, and your quarterback, and I've been dead on. So if I don't get a Sunday game wrong or right, you're right. But at the end of the day, great Cosell's with big sells. 14-3. How you doing? But I'm right about your guy, and you know it now. And I'm right about your team, and you know it. You're right. I'll tell you what, if I could pick a game on Sundays every single week, I wouldn't be talking to you guys. I'd be on a beach with all the boats burned, a moat. I'd have facial hair everywhere. No one would know where I am. You'd never be able to talk to Big Sills ever again. I'd be on an island by myself, like old man in the sea. Huh. That's my dream. Okay? Hurts' career will end up just like in Bama. A thrower of the football and a quarterback that can't read defenses, and he'll be replaced. Yes. 2 years tops, he's gone. Big Sills, what does Philly need to do to get him up to speed? If he struggles reading defenses, get him a tutor. McCown, Chase Daniels, Mike. Yes. Do you really think the organization is going to turn over authority of coaching their $50 million toy to someone outside the organization not having philosophical beliefs like John McMullen says on Birds 365 every day? It's a fundamental decision that the organization makes. Do you actually think that Jeffrey Lurie is going to turn over credit to someone else when they couldn't give credit to Jim Schwartz, Frank Reich, or Doug Peterson, and they believe they won the Super Bowl? Do you really believe that? This has been a polarizing topic today. Because today, on October 24th, it's time to start having these conversations. He's not the future. Sills, comment, Alexa, thank you very much. By the way, all super chats go to the top. Please hit the like button. Hey, some of you guys, give me an update where we are in the likes. I'd like to know. Starting the second hour here. Sills, I feel like 22 was a blip on the radar for Hurts. The league has seen enough tape now, and they know his weaknesses, and he can't elevate his. That's exactly correct. He doesn't have the skill set to elevate his game. Happens with a lot of people. The only way is to run first. 186. Thank you, guys. See if we can get to 200 here by the bottom of the hour here, and then hopefully we can try to get to 400 by the end of the program here. Please hit the like button. Super chats And Common Electra, that's great. By the way, Common Electra, figure this out here. Wouldn't the mentality be to hire a passing coordinator in Baltimore for Lamar Jackson? Instead, do you know what they hired? They hired an RPO guy in Baltimore. Can I tell you something that they do? This is another great Cosell. Xander, this is another great Cosell beauty. Do you know that Baltimore is the number one team in the NFL that doesn't run 3 wideout sets? They have a fullback most of the time in the game. They have called common personnel, 2 wideouts, tight end, and a fullback. They are the number one team and not having a 3 wideout set. Why? Because that's not who they are. They're not looking to chuck the ball down the field. And it's made Lamar a better passer. Lamar may throw for $4,000 for the first time in his career this year. He's playing electric. And you know what he does? Can I tell you why Derrick Henry is having such an insane year? Why do you guys think Lamar and Henry look and are the best team in the league right now? Why do you think Derrick Henry is having a great year right now? Can you tell me why? I'm probably going to have to draw this out here. Why do you think Derrick Henry's having a spectacular season? Lamar Jackson, okay. Okay. I'm going to show you something here. Here's why Derrick Henry may break Eric Dickerson's 2105 this year for most yards in a single season. Slacker goes extra blocker. No. You see this right here? Okay. There's the quarterback, fullback, Henry. They run that play front side here. See this defensive tackle? He cannot pursue down the line of scrimmage. Why? Because Lamar will keep that and go backside and streak up the field having broken contain and not setting the edge. And the quarterback, instead of handing it to him, if that guy doesn't stay flat and he doesn't protect and get as deep as the ball, then guess what? He's going to keep it and go right up the field here. So what you do is you slow down pursuit on the back angle. You have to slow play it. They should be running that play in Philly. They should be running that play with Barkley the way he's playing like that, and with a right tackle like Lane. How are you not running that play? Run that play front side, because when that end doesn't get as deep as the ball, Barkley's going to have even more space. Or Hurts keeps it and goes. They don't want to do that. They want to throw the ball. No shit. They play with a, get this, Senor, once again, how much production does Philly get out of the third wide receiver since Jalen Hurts has been? Hey, somebody do me a favor. How many total catches has the third wide receiver gotten since Hurts has been the quarterback in 21? 30, about 120 catches in 4 years. You get nothing out of that anyway. Why not go to a fullback set and 2 wide receivers? You only throw to 2 anyway. Why this so complex offense for a guy who can't read and fundamentally execute the basic concepts? You know why? Because you don't have a quarterback and you don't have a right coordinator that fit one another. And this is a front office deal. Dude, everything I'm telling you is happening in front of you. You don't use a third wideout. Baltimore doesn't even have a third wideout. They go 12 personnel all the time. They lead the league in that. And get this, he's throwing for 350 yards because they fear Lamar running in the RPO and they fear Henry. Hey, get this. Baltimore has more plus 20 runs than anybody in the league. You have more plus 40. Who's going to win a Super Bowl? Baltimore or you? I'll take the plus 40. I'll take the plus 20 rushes from Derrick Henry. Why are you even playing with 3 wideouts? You get nothing out of them. Baltimore knows Lamar Jackson can't read and find a third wide receiver. So they don't fool themselves. There's so much better coaching going on in Baltimore. You should emulate everything they do in Baltimore right now. But you don't. You think you have this pocket presence, and he's fundamentally struggling at making the simplest plays. I mean, the things you're saying about the Eagles, only if you knew there's worse things on other teams. I'm not concerned about other teams' weaknesses. I'm concerned about your own weaknesses. First, you have to take care of yourself before you worry about others' weaknesses. And especially at the quarterback position. Worrying about San Francisco or Detroit or anyone else like Minnesota, you need to concern yourself about winning your division and yourself first. Then you worry about the guy you got coming up on Sunday. If you're playing the NFL, you're not concerned with Detroit. You have no issues and you don't care about Detroit right now. Why should the Eagles care about Detroit on October 24th? I could care less. Look at this guy. Obviously, we're in a good spot as an organization, but it's important to call out the shortcomings. Where are you in a good place? When you don't have the number one position settled on. You think you're in a good place defensively? I don't. They're playing better defensively. And that's Greg's comment. You played the Browns and you've played the Giants. He's not sold either. It's great to hear Greg Cosell go, don't get crazy. You played the Giants and the Browns, and your quarterback is not playing good football. I mean, these aren't my words. These have been my sentiments. John Harbaugh is from Andy Reid's coaching tree and is a special teams coordinator. Those coaches learn to get the best out of players they have. Isn't it funny, Lucius? A guy who worked in the special teams coordinating coaching staff and then eventually became a position coach in Philadelphia. Do you know who that was? Common Electra, thank you for becoming a new member. Thank you. Lucius, do you know who that was? He started out on special teams. Then he got a position coach with Andy Reid. And then do you know what he became? or Andy Reid? And do you know who that guy is? Brett Veach, the current general manager of the Kansas City Chiefs. So John Harbaugh has the best team in the NFL. Was a special teams guy for Andy Reid in Philly. The best general manager in football right now is in Kansas City. And he was a special teams guy also with Andy Reid. By the way, just to was Sean McDermott on Andy Reid's coaching staff? Was McDermott on Andy Reid's coaching staff in Philly? Yeah? Interesting. So Andy Reid, with his coaching staff, has the best GM that was a position coach for you in Kansas City, correct? The head football coach has arguably the second or third best quarterback in the league in Sean McDermott. And he was in Kansas City, your defensive guy. John Harbaugh was a special teams guy in Kansas City, in Philly. And he was the head coach with a Super Bowl win and on his way to Canton. And he was on that staff too. You might want to think about hiring people off that coaching staff that were in Philly. You might want to think, and that's why. Was John Gruden on that coaching staff, by the way? Was John Gruden on that staff? So wait a minute here. Gruden won a Super Bowl with the Bucs and was on the Reid coaching staff. Okay. The best GM in the sport, Brett Veach, was on that coaching staff in Philly. John Harbaugh was on that coaching staff in Philly. He has a Super Bowl ring. Huh. And McDermott is the head coach in Buffalo. Shit. That sounds like a hell of a coaching tree, all based in Philly. Oh, wait a minute. Did Doug Peterson coach with Andy Reid in Kansas City? Was Doug Peterson a quarterback in Philly too with Andy? Okay. By the way, I think John was the OC for Ray. I don't think he was on that Reid coaching staff. I think he was on Ray Rhodes' staff. If I remember right, because I was in the room when Al hired him. I think it was Ray. So Gruden, I don't think Gruden was on that staff. I think he was on Ray Rhodes' staff. But I'll tell you what, pretty impressive that you had all them coaches. And like David just said, and then you top it off, the defensive coordinator was Jim Johnson. Jesus. That coaching staff. Who put that staff together? Let me guess. Andy Reid. And he brings Brett Veach with him to KC. And your front office doesn't even hire within. You don't believe in Denard Wilson. Andy's tree gave us our only championship, Doug. And the front office ego drove him out of the building. We had them all gone, thanks to Lori and Howie. Hey, it's one thing to sit here and have a conversation on whether or not Andy Reid should have packed it up or the Eagles should have went on after 14 years. Well, what about those guys that were in the building that you had? You couldn't have hired anybody off that coaching staff to be your head coach? Why was that? Why didn't you hire any one of those guys off that coaching staff that Andy built? And now you look at Andy's coach. Look what Andy did just now, too. Matt Nagy, he ends up getting fired in Chicago, right? Do you know he's recharged his coaching career again? He's clearly recharged Steve Spagnuolo's. Oh, I know why. Control and contain. Dude. And again, this comes back to why Hurts is in the position he's in. You got a guy, I'm going to bring Xander on here in a second here. Hey, by the way, we're still going to effort Michael Irvin today. He's in transit, and we talked to him. I'm hoping he gets in touch with us when he lands. Okay? So we'll keep trying to effort him. I left the show open for him because he came in last time like that, parachuted in, and he did his show from a limousine. You got a guy like Greg Cosell saying he can't make the simple plays. Hit the like button. Guys, where are we on that like button list? I think I'm saying it right. By the way, your super chats have been sensational today. What happened to all the Purdy glaze that you and Xander were doing a couple weeks ago, calling him a top 5? Now you all moved to Hurts slander. I still think Brock Purdy's a hell of a player. He's 10 times the quarterback that guy is. He's going through injuries right now with his team. He's got to right the ship. Hey, he's got a lot of pressure on him. He's got a $60 million football season ahead of him. If he doesn't settle the ship, they're going to have conversations. But to sit here and say that Jalen Hurts is in Brock Purdy's league is freaking amazing that you would even think that. Hurts can't make simple plays. And you can't take that. He can't make simple plays. He's not your future. Ooh. Woo! All right. All that being said, damn. What an absolute polarizing hour and a half that's been. Hit the like button here. And boy, I'll tell you what. I heard this morning, man, people getting a little upset here with the afternoon show here. And then somebody gave me a heads up and went, hey, John got pissed because we're getting more likes. Stick it to John McMullen. Hit that like button, man. With that being said, the co-host of Birds 365, we love John. Big Z, Xander Kraus.
What's up, Big Sills? Boy, I've been glued to my seat for an hour and a half, Big Sills. You're on fire today, my guy.
Hey, man, I can't believe. So I'm sitting here preparing my show, and I can't believe how many people watch your show in the morning. So a guy goes, John McMullen just got pissed because Xander said that the afternoon show is killing it in likes, and John got pissed off. And I'm like, really?
I wouldn't say pissed off. He said, we don't like that. We got to change that, which is good. A little competitive environment here.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I like it. Hey, you got 4 hours. We got 2. All right. It's not a one-to-one comp, but I will say there's nobody like Big Sill. So I understand why those likes run up like crazy during the Big Sill show.
Please hit the like button, all super chats. Sydney, we'll get to you at the back end of the conversation here. So we promise to read all of them as always. What about that? By the way, can I tell you who gave me the heads up on this without even telling me? Because he knew that. You see, Big Sills is kind of like, I'm like a wild dog in the wild. I sniff out things. A good topic. A good take. All of a sudden, Xander posts something. This is not a comforting take. And I said, well, hence, let me read this. Sure enough, I listened to the Ross Tucker podcast, and I don't think in my 3.5 years I have ever been as harsh on Jalen Hurts as Greg Cosell was today.
Yeah, he was harsh.
He said he can't make the simple plays.
Yeah. Well, I mean, look, he can't right now. He's obviously in a bit of
Right
a funk.
now.
Look, I mean, here's my one problem with it, because I respect Greg a lot, and I think it's pretty clownish for any Eagle fan to sit here and try and say what he's saying isn't worth a thought or a conversation because Greg Cosell has some sort of agenda. Greg Cosell has no agenda. Greg Cosell could care less. He's been breaking down film in the NFL for 40 years. So obviously he's not seeing good things on film. What I will say is I don't think you can make the blanket analysis that Jalen can't do any simple reads. I mean, we did see it, right, in 22 and 23 a little bit. I mean, is he struggling right now? Yes, but there's more there. He's in a big funk right now. I think he's in his head a little bit, and he's got to get better. There's no doubt about it. But, boy, Big Sills, this has been a tough